Kamala talked about why the Biden admin didn't pursue further action on the Epstein files. So that's the one thing that she has to say on the subject. It's why we didn't. Let me make excuses for why we didn't. Is this content ID?
The Epstein files are supposed to be released.
Yeah, it's Kimmel.
On Friday. Do you believe we will see the entirety of those files?
You know, what he has done to treat the Department of Justice as his personal law firm is criminal in proportion to what it's supposed to be, and that it is supposed to be an independent body that does justice, and blindfolded in terms of for whom, but for the country. They're supposed to operate without favor or fear, and what this Department of Justice has done. So I don't know that they are going to do what they're saying they're going to do, which is release all of the documents that the American people have a right to see. But I will commend Republicans in Congress, those who have stood up to say release the file. Yeah.
Do you think about, and I'm
why
sure
didn't
you get asked
release
about,
them?
why didn't the Biden administration release those files? Was that something that they felt would look bad while they're running against this guy, or why didn't they come out during your administration?
Oh my God, she finds a way to suck off Republicans. Yeah, it is crazy that Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene are basic, and Lauren Boebert are like the people on the right who made this happen. It was, but every Democrat did too. The one, yeah, she's still building bridges. It's crazy. What a presidential person, you know?
Give you an answer that will not satisfy your curiosity. I will tell you, we, perhaps to our damage, but we strongly and rightly believed that there should be an absolute separation between what we wanted as an administration and what the Department of Justice did. You
don't understand. We're weak and they're strong. We have no choice. But we trust me, you know, it was entirely due to prosecutorial independence that they did not pursue charges against Trump for the insurrection attempt or being part of, you know, pedophile island or whatever else. Actually, that's what democracy is, you fucking chud. Democracy is when you never, ever, ever punish powerful people.
Absolutely adhered to that, and it was right to do that. The Justice Department would make its decisions independent of any political or personal vendetta or concern that we may have, and that's the way it worked.
It's so bullshit, man. The idea that the DOJ operates independently of the White House has always been a half-truth. At best, a half-truth. Like, the Attorney General is appointed by the president, part of the president's party, sharing the president's agenda. The idea is that the White House isn't supposed to dictate the specific people getting prosecuted. Or in other words, you're not supposed to point at your attorney general and say, I want you to arrest them, them, and them. That's what Trump is doing. But the idea that, like, there was absolutely no way to politically direct the release of the Epstein files is a fucking lie. You don't need the DOJ to be at your beck and call for you as the president of the United States to say, I am calling upon the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files. You can just say that. You can just say that if you want to. The DOJ can just release them. You can say it. You meet. You have cabinet meetings. There are a million things that you can do. You know, this is like this is malicious compliance. You know, it's Democrats deliberately following stupid fucking rules that we all know don't actually matter, so that they always have an excuse for why they haven't done the right thing. You know, why were you weak? Well, we had no choice but to. It's kind of mean to go after people like that, you know? I guess the question, if you really want to play that bullshit fucking game, I guess the real question is, why the fuck did Biden choose an attorney general who was so weak that he wouldn't go after one of the most extensive and notorious criminal sex trafficking operations and all of its clients and affiliates in history, and why they wouldn't go after Trump for an actual coup attempt? I don't know, man. I don't think you have to be that politically biased to consider those things worth going after. It seems kind of important to me, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't think it's that biased. I feel like just an impartial, fair analysis of what deserves to be tried would include those things. Should have been Jack Smith as AG. That would have been better. That would have been a lot better. The really fucking frustrating thing is that, like, you know, they wanted to go after Trump, but were too weak to, because they went after everyone involved in J6 but Trump. Like, the FBI went after a fuck ton of people who were physically there at January 6th, who entered the Capitol building. They clearly were able and willing to go after people. You know, federal prosecutors were more than willing to charge people, but not Trump. Ooh, that sounds scary. Going after a former president, same for Ford did the shit. Gerald Ford with Nixon. It has nothing to do with helping the nation move on and everything to do with the idea of prosecuting a former president for crimes committed in office is terrifying to the establishment. Not only to future presidents, but what about all the powerful people who were part of the previous administration who are still in power now? You know? They also could have had Congress pass a law ordering the release of the files during Biden, no? Yes, they could have done that. Congress could have done that at any point. Yeah. Literally at any point for decades, Congress could have said, we are compelling the release of these files from the Department of Justice, at which point it would not, in fact, be the Department of Justice doing anything. It would be Congress compelling it, which is 100% legally their right. But do the Democrats want to do that? No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Yeah, I remember Obama saying we look forward but not backward when asked about Bush's war crimes and torture regime. Yeah, I remember. Do you think the Groyperification of the Republican Party would hurt them, or is it a dud that won't harm them much? Actually, I think the Groyperification of the party is its death knell, basically. Trump succeeded because he appealed to and leaned into the far right, but was able to form a broad base, even with relatively moderate Republicans, because the thing that he mostly drew his appeal from wasn't policy, but rather personality, cult of personality, you know? But the swell of Groyper bullshit is a shift away from that, both in policy and likability, and I don't think they would ever be able to move the needle, you know? What's up, dude? I don't understand how we have thousands of years of human history, yet we end up down the same pattern every single time, a downward trend to fascism. Well, fascism is a modern political system, you know? It didn't really exist meaningfully until the 20th century. I mean, if you mean authoritarianism, I actually disagree, you know? We still broadly live in one of the most democratic times in human history. I think that there's a kind of cycle of decay that, you know, civilizations or nations or whatever experience, to be sure, you know, but I don't think it's as deterministic as a lot of people suggest. And even then, it never really follows the same pattern, right? I mean, look at us today. We're living through a wave of fascist resurgence, but a lot of the fascists are basically just liberals. They're not really fascists. They're not out there dying for their country or, you know, organizing death squads or anything. Instead, they're like complaining their free speech rights are being violated on x.twitter.com. So it's you know, it's liberal realism has cemented itself so strongly that even its counter movements are kind of beholden to it, right?